Hello, I'm John Feldt, and this is the Weekly Water Outlook National Edition, September 29th, 2013. Okay, over the last week, it was a fairly quiet week. This is ending the 27th, the number of rain days. Really, the areas that have been most significant rainfall have been the Pacific Northwest, and then parts of the southeast U.S., mainly Florida. Most of the nation, you can see shaded in brown, only had anywhere from maybe 0, 1, or 2 days of precipitation, most 0 or 1, so it's been pretty quiet across the nation over the last week. And late summer into early fall is a quiet time of the year for most of the nation unless we get tropical activity. And I'll be talking about that. We're not going to get that, it doesn't look like. It looks like it's going down into the record books as a near record or record-setting low amount of tropical activity. So we look at where the rain fell last week. We see the areas of most significant rain were the Pacific Northwest with some energy flowing into that region, upper atmospheric energy. We have the parts of Texas, this area of red here, 5 inches or more. That was a streaming inflow of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And then we had parts of Florida and the northwest Florida coast with some moisture streaming inland in that region as well. These were not organized tropical systems, but just inflows of tropical moisture. Elsewhere, it was pretty quiet. Areas of red, especially the northeast U.S., the Ohio Valley, and large parts of the Midwest, and definitely parts of the southwest U.S. and south, you see that area of red, that's below normal or well below normal rainfall. And so generally speaking, a fairly quiet week with the exception of the Pacific Northwest where rainfall was widespread and significant in scattered parts of the nation elsewhere. I'm going to give you an eye test here, I guess. This is the U.S. Drought Monitor. July 16th is on the left, the latest date's on the right. And I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but I want you to step back and sort of look at each one. And what's the main pattern you see is really some drought relief. Look at that area of red that we started out through the middle part of July, and then as we get into September. And normally speaking, you would not get that improvement until the winter months. Now, I did a study earlier this year. I put out that there was randomness in that change of drought monitor, but normally you wouldn't see a significant change without tropical activity through the late summer into early fall. But looking at this, look at the red. The red is the severe or extreme drought, and that has been tampered down as we went from summer into fall. And matter of fact, some parts, including Kansas and parts of Texas, you see it pretty significantly being improved. So the drought's definitely not over. There's still a large percentage of the nation in drought, but it has been tampered down a bit as we've got more rain over parts of the middle part of the nation, over the Intermountain region, especially the Intermountain region where it went from drought to flood in some areas, and then over parts of Texas. Okay, so the current jet stream alignment, very typical late September, early October jet stream, well to the north. I'm always talking about atmospheric energies, what sort of drives the precipitation. And look at the red here. This is the highest wind flow, which means the highest atmospheric energy coming directly onshore. That's why the Pacific Northwest has been active, and that's why it will continue to be active. There won't be any help from the tropics. The tropics look very quiet. Weak, unsettled area in the Caribbean, not much sign of development, and it doesn't look to me like it probably will do much this week. But look at all the lack of activity anywhere in the Atlantic Basin, in the middle part, off the African coast, in the Caribbean, or in the Gulf of Mexico. Very, very quiet. This will be a year that the researchers will discuss for quite some time. So the jet stream analysis looks very similar this week to last. We'll have one system moving out of the southwest U.S. Last week it was a little bit more to the northeast. This week it's a little bit more west to east. But being the time of year, there's not going to be a lot of moisture. It's not going to be all that strong. So precipitation should be more scattered and modest and not all that significant except for the Pacific Northwest and other scattered areas. Very similar to last week. If we look at the 6 to 10 day flow, look at these dashed lines. These are anomalies of atmospheric pressure at the jet stream level. Purple means 0, and that's saying, generally speaking, the jet stream is normal, in a normal position of where it would be this time of year, which is a quiet season. To the north, I don't see any of that vigorous activity that we'll see in late fall. Rainfall forecasts thus the next 7 days, basically 3 areas. Inflow into Pacific Northwest. This is that strong flow into that region. The system ejecting out from the southwest U.S., maybe some modest precipitation in the Midwest, upper Midwest. And then interaction along the coast. This is interaction with tropical inflow, as well as Florida. So those are the 3 areas. Other than that, not much at all over this week. It looks like a quiet week. And this is pretty similar to last week. Week 2, this goes from the 6th to the 12th of October. I am not seeing any strong patterns one way or the other. It looks very quiet. The only area of significant precipitation anomalies are the areas in green, and those are modest. Those are not strong forecasts of precipitation over that time frame. So it looks to me like week 2, early October, should be fairly quiet. Now, I haven't talked about atmospheric anomalies for quite some time. I want to talk about the Arctic Oscillation. If you're a regular listener, you might remember or recall that this is the neutral line. If the plot, which is the black line, is above it, it's a positive Arctic Oscillation. If it's below, it's negative. And these are imbalances of atmospheric pressure, and they can foretell changes in both temperature and precipitation. Looking out through October, it looks like it's staying fairly close to normal, some above, some below. Average it out in a neutral Arctic Oscillation, and what that means to me is that the atmosphere has not shown a sign yet of getting into that latter fall period where we get more vigorous systems, secondary severe weather, more active precipitation patterns. I don't see that sign yet. So I'll be looking at other things as well, but the Arctic Oscillation, I just wanted to point out that I'm not really seeing that at this time in the Arctic Oscillation. So the takeaway points. Pacific Northwest looks like it'll be the hot spot this week. Some modest rainfall in the middle part of the nation. Coastal interactions, boy, that's identical to last week. Very similar. So it looks like the rest of the nation, quiet week. And otherwise, right through the middle part of October, I don't see anything real strong other than that Pacific Northwest that's going to trend precipitation one way or the other. If you ever have any questions, you can always reach me at john@bluewateroutlook.com. I'd like to hear from you. If you find my briefings useful for your operations, let me know. And if you ever have any questions, email me as well. Thank you for listening to this week's briefing, and I will be talking with you again next week.